Alright, so I did the video on the bumper weight. Man, did the comment section turn into an absolute war zone. You know exactly the crowd I'm talking about. The I built my rig the right way gatekeepers. The guys that think if it isn't 150 pounds of raw fucking steel that you're basically bolting a wet noodle on your frame. I'm reading through these like this thing's gonna fold at 5 mph tap. That I've seen those things crumble like a damn soda can. And my favorite, that's not real protection, that's just a prop. And look, this is coming from two types of people. Guys that spend every weekend actually rock crawling and breaking shit, fair enough. Or guys that bought something because it looked badass in a catalog, and now they've decided everything else is dangerously light. Weird hill to die on. And look, maybe they're right, maybe I'm an idiot. Or maybe they just don't know what the hell they're talking about because they're stuck in 1995. Because here's the part that actually bugged me after I posted this video. So let's actually sit down and look at the real map. I'm John and this is Project Kehm. No sponsors, no discount codes, nothing for free. I paid for all this shit myself. And just to be 100% clear, we're talking non-winch bumpers only. No winches, no 100-pound cables hanging off the front, just the armor. Just me in the garage trying to hammer this shit out and hopefully save you a headache down the road. In the last video I broke down the weight and we saw the chart. And when you actually see it laid out, the gap is fucking real. You've got bumpers in the 60-pound range, and you got monsters pushing 120, 150, and even 180. And that's not a small difference. It's like bolting a 45-pound gym plate to the front of a shopping cart, and then acting surprised when it handles like shit. And that's where all those comments come from. But here's what's been bugging the shit out of me since I posted that. Weight is a lazy metric. It's easy, it's measurable, but it doesn't tell you shit about what actually matters when things go wrong. It doesn't tell you what bends, what holds, and it definitely doesn't tell you where the energy goes when you hit something that doesn't move. Here's the reality of how this actually works, and this is where people get it twisted. Your stock bumper, it's designed to absorb a hit. It's supposed to crumble, it's supposed to give, it's supposed to die so you don't. Aftermarket bumpers, they're designed to take a hit. Thicker steel, more structure, less give. And that sounds great until you think about what happens next. Because if the bumper doesn't give, something else has to, and usually that's something else, that's your fucking frame. So yeah, strong might sound awesome, but all you might have done is move the damage somewhere way more expensive. You didn't eliminate the problem, you just relocated it. Alright, chart's back, but this time we're not just looking at weight, we're looking at what the hell you can actually verify before you buy one. You're not just buying a number, you're buying whatever's behind that number. I broke this in the group so we're not just comparing random bumpers, we're comparing how they're actually designed. Because otherwise this turns into this one's lighter, that one's heavier, and that just doesn't tell you shit. Because this is where the shit gets hard. Some of these companies don't give you enough information to even make a real decision. No material thickness, no real breakdown on the mounting, and no clear picture of where the strength actually is. Same truck, same upgrade, but look at that range. 65 pounds all the way up to 120 pounds plus. And that's not just weight. Suspension load, braking, and MPG, and how the front of this thing actually feels every time you drive it. So let's start down here, the call-out group. Barricade HD, Hooke Road, DV8, Fab Fours. This is where the data starts getting a little thin. On paper, these look fine. You'll see all the right words, high-strength steel, D-ring mounts, all the right stuff. But this is where things get a little sketchy because you don't know what you're actually getting. No clear material thickness, no real detail on how the mounting is built, no good breakdown on where the strength actually is. And yeah, some of these are lighter, but you don't always know why they're lighter. And that's when the internet starts filling in the blanks. Like when people say, it's gonna fold. That's because they're looking at bumpers built to price points and not performance specs. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're just guessing. Now we move up to the middle group, the Prove It crowd. Westin Pro Mod, Steelcraft Fortress, ARB. These start to feel different. More structure, more coverage, you can actually see where the strength is coming from. And that matters. Because now you're not guessing as much. You're starting to understand what you're bolting on to the front of the truck. But now you're paying for it. You're in that 100 to 120 pound range, and that's not nothing. That's more load on the front end, more drive under braking, more weight your suspension has to deal with every single time you drive it. And here's the trade-off. You're gaining confidence in how it's built, but you're also committed to carrying the weight all the time. Not just when something goes wrong, every turn, every stop, every mile. Now this is where it actually gets interesting because this is the group I kept coming back to. Icon Impact, JCR Crusader, MetalCloak, which actually came in heavier than I expected once I dug into it. ADD, Stealth, Bomber. Different look, slightly different packaging, but at the core, it's the same idea. They're not just stacking steel, they're reinforcing the area that actually takes the load, letting everything else stay lighter. Both of these sit in the mid-weight range, around 60 to 70 pounds. And yeah, ADD told me they were using 10 gauge steel on most of these. But again, that number by itself doesn't tell you how the whole thing is actually built. What matters is how it's all tied together and where the load actually goes. And from what I can see, they're thinking about the load path, not just throwing more material at the problem and calling it heavy duty. So whether you go stealth or bomber, you're really picking between looks and not a completely different design. And even something like Lobo Offroad, 74 pounds, honestly, this is one of the cleanest executions of the idea I've seen. Strength where it matters without adding weight everywhere. I get why people run it. But for me, it missed the mark. I wanted something that would stand out a little bit more. So here's the reality, there's no perfect bumper. You're not finding the best option, you're just picking which trade-off you're willing to live with. You want max protection? Go heavy, be a tank. But understand you're driving that decision every single day. You want something that's still gonna drive like a truck? Then yeah, you're gonna land in that lighter range. But now you gotta be honest about what you're getting. And for me, this is where it landed. I wanted something that actually made sense structurally, but also something that fit how I actually use the fucking thing. This is a daily driver that actually hits trails on the weekends, not a dedicated rock crawler. So weight matters, feel matters, and how it drives every single day matters. And yeah, looks matter too. And in my opinion, Lobo Offroad probably does this job better than just about everything out there, at least for these non-winch bumpers. But at the end of the day, I've got to like what I'm looking at every single time I walk away from the truck. And that's part of the trade-off nobody really wants to admit. The ADD, especially the bomber, just fit the balance for me. And yeah, that's where I landed. If I missed a bumper you swear by, drop it in the comments. Non-winch only. Let's keep this apples to apples. And yeah, I'll probably be down there arguing with the 120-pound steel guys again. I'm John, and this is Project Kehm.